beefy side dish of every farmer's dreams, allow me to introduce you to my meaty twice-baked potatoes. They're hot spuds, jammed full of spiced, fatty ground beef, and finished with a spicy, sweet harissa ketchup. They are total dream boats. Get it? Because the potatoes are shaped like boats. I'm starting with a few russet potatoes that I've poked all over and roasted till soft at 425 for about an hour. Now I'm just hollowing them out to make holsters for essentially big meatballs. We get really good potatoes around here because in addition to sugar beets and wheat and corn, there are lots of potatoes in this region. I love potatoes in all forms. Before I go on to the filling, I'll season the boats. The difference between like a bland, dumb potato and a really delicious potato is a proper amount of salt. And I'll just let these hang out while I whip up my filling. So I've got the potato innards here. To this, I'll add a pound of ground beef, some yellow onion and garlic that I've just cooked down until soft, 1.5 teaspoons of kosher salt. And now for my spices, a teaspoon each of cumin, coriander, and paprika. And these are spices that I use all the time when I'm cooking Middle Eastern food. These are actually inspired by a Libyan dish called mafroum, which consists of a potato that you essentially stuff with a little meatball and then you fry it and braise it in a red sauce. It is so comforting and delicious. But in a move inspired by a Midwest classic, I am doing this in the style of a twice-baked potato. And then a 1/4 teaspoon of cinnamon will add lovely warmth. And then some crushed red pepper for a little more heat. I'll toss in some chopped parsley and cilantro and some mint, which I just love with meat. My mom would make twice-baked potatoes all the time when I was little. Half the time they were from scratch, the other half the time they were from frozen. And they were always obviously super duper cheesy. I loved them. Here I go. Mix this all together. I don't want to overmix this. I just want to make sure everything is evenly distributed. Okay, my meat is combined, so I'm gonna fill my potatoes. I'm gonna overflow it so that it looks voluptuous. These would be a great tractor meal because they're handheld and they're potatoes, so they hold their heat really well. And then you've got your meat right there too. You don't even have to worry about packing an extra protein. All right, I'll get these in the oven at 425 degrees for about 30 minutes until they're fully cooked through. And while these cook, I'll get going on the ketchup dipping sauce. This sauce is sweet and spicy and tomatoey and stars the love of my condiment life, ketchup. Who do you think loves ketchup more? Meat or potatoes or me? And then I'll mix in a little bit of harissa. Harissa is a Tunisian pepper paste that is smoky and spiced. It comes in a range of spiciness levels, so you can start off with a little bit and then taste and then add more if you want. Harissa and ketchup go really nice together. It just makes like a spicy ketchup with some substance. That's it. Let me get the potatoes out. You can really smell that cinnamon. I'll plate them up. You can feel how crispy the skin got. I'll finish with some parsley for some color and nestle in some lemon wedges. That hit of acidity at the end will go a long way. All right, squeezing some onto this one. I'm gonna dunk. It's so warming and hearty, and that meat is perfectly spiced. Dang, these may be twice baked, but they're 3 times as good and really heavy. I adore the colorful, fragrant vibrancy of Middle Eastern cuisine, which actually meshes deliciously with Midwest cuisine. So I'm putting together a dinner with some of my favorite combinations. For dessert, I'm baking up my take on a basbousa, which is a sweet semolina cake. and I'm loading it up with juicy, tart, syrupy cherries. It's a super great snacking cake because it holds its moisture for so long. I'll start by mixing up my dry ingredients. I'm starting with semolina flour, which is signature basbousa cake, and it's a coarse flour, which lends a great hearty texture to this crumb. 2/3 of a cup. And semolina is also what's used to make pasta, so make a basbousa one day and pasta the next day. 1/2 cup of shredded unsweetened coconut, which adds really lovely warm flavor to the crumb of the cake. And I'm using unsweetened coconut just because I'll also be adding some sugar, and it's getting sugar in the syrup. 1/2 cup of almond meal, which I've toasted to bring out those nutty notes. And I just heated this in a dry skillet for a few minutes until I could really start to smell it. This is just finely ground almonds. You don't always see nuts in a semolina cake, but I love a nutty cake, what can I say? And then 2/3 of a cup of all-purpose flour. 2 teaspoons of baking powder to give the cake lift, and then 3/4 of a teaspoon of kosher salt. I'll whisk this to combine. So a basbousa is an Egyptian semolina cake, and it's soaked with syrup. It is so flavorful. You can serve it right out of the pan, and because it sits in that syrup, it stays lively for a really long time. So you can just hang out on your counter, and then you can have a nibble of cake for absolutely no reason at all. To this mixture, I'll drizzle in 6 tablespoons of olive oil. I love an oil-based cake as a snacking cake because you don't have to worry about softening butter. And the olive oil here will add that moisture and richness, and of course, just a hint of that olive oil flavor, which is delightful. And then 1/4 cup of heavy cream with 1/2 cup of whole milk. It's a perfect ratio of cream to whole milk for moisture and richness. And I'll whisk this together. This is part of my batter. Oh, I just got a whiff of those almonds. I'll set aside this mixture and then whip up my eggs. I've got 3 eggs here. I'll plop them into my stand mixer, and I'll beat them with 3/4 of a cup of sugar, as well as a splash of almond extract to enhance the almond flavor of the nuts and the dry ingredients. I've got my whisk attachment here, and I want to whip these up for a good few minutes until they're pale and fluffy and aerated, and that'll add some nice airiness to the cake. When I can see the tracks of the mixer and the mixture has lightened, it's ready to go, I'll get this off of my mixer and then fold it in with the rest of my batter. I'll do this gradually, taking care not to deflate the eggs. And whipping the eggs separately and then folding them in adds lift and makes for a really fluffy cake. Batter looks great. I've got a greased 9x9 square metal pan. I haven't lined it since I'm gonna be serving the cake right out of the pan. Once it's soaked in syrup, you just wanna keep it where it is. And I'll stick this in the oven at 350 degrees until the center is springy and a toothpick stuck in comes out with just a couple of crumbs. I'll start checking for doneness at 28 minutes. And while that bakes, I'll whip up my syrupy cherry compote. I love the fruity, slightly sour flavor that cherry brings to this party, and cherries and almonds go so well together. I've got my simple syrup going here already. It's just equal parts sugar and water with some lemon juice to balance out all the sweetness. And I'll pour in some cherries. These are just halved and pitted, and you can use fresh or frozen. I'll stir these around and allow them to cook just so that the cherries soften, but I don't want them to completely break down. I like seeing the big chunks of cherries on top of the cake. One of the things that makes basbousas so good is that they're soaked in a sugary syrup. It makes them sticky and moist and so delightful. I've essentially got a syrup here, but with some cherries tossed in because cherries are everywhere here when they're in season. All right, this looks great. I'll remove it from the heat, and then I'll flavor it with some vanilla bean paste, about a teaspoon. You can use vanilla extract too, but vanilla bean paste is thicker and it has flecks of actual vanilla bean pod in them. And then a splash of orange blossom water is floral and so unique. It's not front and center, it's just a very subtle specialness. It's really good. Let me get my cake out of the oven. Almond smell is a smell I could smell all day long. It's puffed up, it's golden. While it's still hot, I'll poke some holes everywhere, which will help it absorb the syrup. And I like drizzling the syrup on while it's still hot. The heat kind of thickens and caramelizes the syrup just a touch. and it absorbs better that way too. I'll pour this all over the cake. Look at that vibrant cherry color. Hello. And lastly, some toasted sliced almonds will be really pretty. Add crunch and say, this cake has almonds in it. It's ready to eat. That is one of the perks of a basbousa, is that you don't have to wait for it to cool. You can just dig in right now, which is exactly what I'm gonna do. Oh, I love seeing the contrast of the white cake and the pink parts. It's almost like tie-dye. It's so flavorful. The texture is so awesome. It's hearty, it's coarse, and it's also syrupy and sweet. This is one dream cake.